I think that part of what I'm struggling through right now with this podcast is we still haven't quite found our voice. We've done some scintillating topics. We've done some things that I thought was fun and interesting, but at least if you mark the number of downloads, were complete duds. I'm never quite sure when an episode is a dud, if it's simply because, people just looked at it and were like, I'm not interested, or if it's that I didn't do a good enough job of marketing it, putting it out on all the medias at the right time and all that kind of stuff, or if that's just how things are in podcasts. I have no idea. I don't have enough of a history to know that, that's just how podcasts are. One episode you have 5,000 downloads and the next episode you have 50. That's just welcome to podcasting.
I think the voice thing is very true, and I hate to say it. Well, I don't hate to say it, but I feel like having Sid on balances the voices for whatever reason, and it's just a shame that she can't be on a consistent basis. I just, like, we're all over the place, and then sometimes we're like all in unison. But we all have the same ends, but different ways of meeting those ends. And so it's like, I don't know, it just becomes redundant after a while of our things. And I don't know, maybe we're too vague on our topics, but then we'll just get into like really deep doctrinal stuff. And it's like, you don't want to go that route either. It's inaccessible. So I don't, like, what we're doing is hard, but I think the only way to combat it is to continue to do it. And then, like, look, we're only 20-some episodes into this, and I think that, for us, for what we were doing, if we could find our voice in episode 3, that would be nothing short of a miracle. And I think that it's just part of the organic growth process. We're not, we're trying to make it happen naturally instead of force a voice onto us. And it's just going to take time, and it just sucks.
What you said about Sid, actually, what you shared about yourself, I wasn't as concerned about. I was thinking of that when it came to Sid. So what you shared about sometimes feeling intimidated, I was afraid that Sid might actually feel that way, especially when I added Nia, because I had thought about Nia from the very beginning, but had really hesitated on bringing her in. And part of it is because when the more of us that are on any particular episode, the harder my job becomes to make sure that everybody's voice is heard. But also, I understand, or I was concerned that some things might be intimidating. So if I have both, we've only had one episode with both Sid and Nia on it, and I was very afraid that one of them might lose their voice because of the other one's presence. And I figured if that was going to happen, it would be Sid who would lose her voice before Nia would. So I hadn't thought too much about your end and you possibly being intimidated, only because I feel like you've understood from the beginning that your role, I won't say is comic relief, but your role.
I'm out of here. I'm the only one here, Brendan. I'm the only one here.
Your role is to bring an X factor, and some weeks that X factor may be humor, some weeks that X factor may be passion, some weeks that X factor may be that you bringing nothing to the table, but you're still here. You know what I mean? So yes. I have labored under the impression that you understood that and you accepted that, and so it was all good in the end. Because certainly that's how I feel about it. Like, I never know what you're gonna bring to anything, and that's part of the fun for me going into it. And that's why, as much as I complained to you about not, oh, you're never prepared, the fact is, if you were actually prepared, that would scare me.
Now that you brought it up, now it's I oftentimes get into these conversations where it's like, Anthony, phoning it in for you is obviously better than some people's best, but are you giving it your best?
Right.
And I'd be like, nah, But they're like, dude, if you're gonna do it, just give it your best. You say the same shit to everybody else.
Mm.
And then, and then I get convicted, like conversations like this is like, just dance, shoot a ball, do something.
That is. I swear I said something to that effect to you on our drive to Cape Cod. I might have been saying
that day.
I might have been saying it in the context of your water stuff, but I'm pretty sure I said something to you to that effect, that it's like, if you actually applied yourself and went at something with quality and all that.
Tell me how you really feel. Just lay it on here.
If you weren't always just winging it, you're always winging it.
I'm not always. Look at me. I'm making buttons now.
I think I said that in the context of talking about you being on that Princeton symposium. I think I was like, imagine how powerful your voice would be if you weren't always just winging it.
Yeah, they loved me in Princeton, all right? They loved the Ant-Man. You're right. I mean, everybody's right. I'm a degenerate.
I don't remember saying that, but
No, but it's true because I give people shit all the time about like, if you know better, do better.
Well,
but here I am, just fucking.
Think about how scary that is. Just think about how scary that is to say that, you've gone through your life, you've gone through this much of your life, 30 some odd years of your life, and you've always just kind of winged it. And it's like, have I ever really given my all to anything for any length of time? And I say that I challenge you. One of the reasons I always challenge you in that area is because I'm 46 years old and I'm always asking myself that question. It's like, what have I gone at with gusto and passion and perseverance to the best of my ability? Because certain things just come so easily. Like I think that's why people were so surprised when I stepped down from pastoring, right? Because they're like, oh, you're such a powerful preacher. And there's this part of me that's like, yeah, but that's like easy. I could get up there and wing it and you wouldn't know any different than if I prepared 10 hours. Now, it just so happens that I love the preparation for sermons, so I put in a ton of preparation. But I do that because I love that. And then that's something where you look at it and you're like, oh, so I don't know. What would it look like in my life? And I think I have these same conversations with my daughter because she's the same way. That
I think that it goes to a lot of things, right? And I'm trying to think of putting like that biblical perspective to it, and wondering if it's like taking advantage of grace, and wondering if it's like, like what does it really come to? And I think I think there's a lot of different components to it. I think we talked about mental health one time, and the varying things that come into that, and seeking help with certain issues with God. But I think it definitely becomes that, because there's often times in the things that I've done where I have given it my all, where I've like put a little bit of increased effort in. It's always been thinking about my life story and where I'm at, right? So obviously, I used to drink a lot, used to drink and drive all the time, crashed a bunch of cars, never gotten a DUI and things like that. And so that was one of the things that really helped me coming from Connecticut, and especially when I wasn't in a church, and realized that there was a better purpose for me here, that there was a reason why God spared me from a lot of pain and suffering that I could have went through. And as a result of that, it's like, then why, like, you've been given this second chance on life, then why are you beating around the bush? Why are you not giving it your all? And it's when I think about those moments and then I give it my all and it feels good and it feels great, that I just kind of forget. And then things become easy again and I become complacent again. And then it just takes something to really jolt me back to reality and to make me remember, this day is not promised, nor is tomorrow. So just keep grinding, keep doing what you have to do. God has called you for bigger and better things. So why are you out here being a bum,
I think that for myself, what I run into is that when I do throw myself at something with everything, I become an uber perfectionist. And then things don't go well because I'm holding to some standard of perfection that is my own standard. And I'm trying to hold other people to that standard, and that's never good. And then it just robs the whole joy out of everything, because then I'm just sitting there evaluating things based on what I wanted, what I thought should happen, how I wanted things to go. And I'm not always sure, first of all, that I'm the right standard. And in the process, all the joy was robbed because of it. And probably I took over much more control instead of truly delegating and truly, empowering and encouraging and equipping people. I just take stuff and do it myself because, nobody else is going to get it done right. And so, and I think I've even shared even that with this podcast, that, I have to, realizations of what are my expectations, and is this really a ministry, and that sort of stuff. And so how do you go about it if that's the case?
Well, it is November, and remember what Nia said about October. So
yeah, it's funny. I thought the same thing tonight. I was like, it's November, everything should be clearing up.
Nope.